This is a help video for how to be successful in the Digital Substitute Kit for the Iowa Substitute Teaching Authorization course. First off, you'll notice that I've almost completed the entire course. You can see here, when you complete a module, you have a review button next to it if you'd like to get back into that module. You also have a green resume button on the module you're currently in. You can also see on the home page that you can see how long a module took to complete. So this module right here was completed at 1:36. This module right here was completed at 2:50. That means this module, the overview module, took 1 hour and 14 minutes to complete. You'll also notice that down here, this was a module that was completed too quickly. June 22nd at noon, June 22nd at 12:22. So this module was completed in 22 minutes. The estimated completion time for the Strategies for Learning module is 3 hours, so this module would be deemed a time-deficient module. If this happens to you, you can let me know and I'll reset this module so that you can go back into it and make sure you complete it in a time that's more reflective of the estimated completion time. The Digital Substitute Kit is found on page 7 of the Overview module, and here it's telling you to open the Digital Substitute Kit. This also prompts to open. When you open it, you make a copy of it, and this puts a fresh copy in your Google Drive. Now, it's going to put it in whatever Google Drive you are signed in with when you click the button to make a copy. So if you happen to be in someone else's, then that copy will be placed in someone else's Google Drive. Now you have the ability to fill this out, and once you're done filling it out, you'll share it with me for your submission. For number 1, provide the link to the Substitute Teaching Handbook for a district you plan on subbing in. So we'll come down here. Page 19 is where this one starts. So here you have an example Substitute Teaching Handbook, and it asks you to go through this for 15 minutes. There's about 40 pages, so these are things that are going to take some time for you to go through, but you kind of glance through what's going on in this Substitute Teaching Handbook. On page 20, we've got some things to note. And then on page 21, it asks you to do some additional research to find one where you plan on substitute teaching. Keep in mind, not all districts have one, so if you can't find one for your district, you just need to find one for another district nearby. If you're still struggling to find one, you can click the Google search button right here to find one. So once you have one, you've taken a few minutes to look through it. I'm going to use Johnston's, I live around Johnston, so that's the one I'll use. I take a minute to make sure this is a Substitute Teaching Handbook. Keep in mind, on the first page, it usually tells you what it is. So if it says Employee Handbook, that's different. If it says Student Handbook or Board Policies, those are different. You want to make sure you're providing a link to a digital Substitute Teaching Handbook. This one looks relevant for me, so I'll copy this URL, then I'll go back here and I'll paste it in here. Now, as I go through this, I'm not going to do each of these questions for you. I'm just providing guidance on each of the steps. For number 2, being a great substitute activity. Use the interactive Miro board for assistance. Create a list you'd like to have of characteristics you'd like to have. So we should have more than one characteristic here, and we should have more than one characteristic here. If we come back to the course, you'll find that on page 25 is where this question is addressed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click See the Board. If you haven't gone to the board before, you're going to use this password to get in. And now that you're here, you can zoom in to see what people are saying. The activity is asking you to contribute to this list as well. So you'll come up to the top, you'll grab one of these sticky notes, you'll copy paste it, and then you'll come down here and just put your sticky note kind of amongst the group so that other people can use this as well. You'll see related to students. They were caring, they were a good leader, they were fun, they had patience. These are all things you could put into the list of things you'd like to have. Same thing over here. You'll come and grab one of these, you'll copy paste it, then you can look through kind of what other people have said. You can probably relate to many of them. And once you get your 2 lists, you're going to come back here and just type in, again, more than one characteristic you'd like to have, and more than one characteristic you'd like to avoid. For number 3, what are 2 things you can do when you find your buttons are getting pushed to help calm yourself down? So this is, we're almost at the end of this module here. So this is going to be found in the next module. That's the classroom management module. You also notice module names are at the top of the group of questions that come from that module. So we'll scroll down here. We're going to be in the classroom management module. Here's where the content begins on the hot buttons. You can watch this video. This will give you some things you can do to help calm yourself down. They go through the STAR method. That's one way to help calm yourself down. Here's a little interactive for you. Here's another video you can watch on how to calm yourself down when you're getting frustrated. So include 2 of those things, or at least 2, for number 3. Those are on page 5, 6, 7 of the classroom management module. Here's another, page 8 really has to do with it as well. You can see that this is where it addresses it in the course. For number 4, class opening and closing activities. List at least 2 bell ringers and lesson closing activities you can use when subbing. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump ahead. When you're going through the course, you're going to want to go through each of these things. But in the case of, I went too far ahead. In the case of answering these questions, you're going to see that on page 17 of this module is where this content begins. Class starter activities, or called bell ringers. So here you're going to see the reasons for bell ringers and what you could do. And then down here you're going to see resources for bell ringer activities. Keep in mind, we're not asking you to explain why we use bell ringers. We're really just looking for what are bell ringers you can use. So, if we click on the second one, you're going to go through here. You're going to see quite a few bell ringers that are included on this link. There's also bell ringers down here that you can do as well. As we keep going in the course, though, you're going to see page 18 talks about keeping students on task. And page 19, these are the lesson closing activities. Again, we've got plenty of resources for how you can identify the activities that you'd like to use for bell ringer and closer activities. Number 5, your signal for students. So here, some videos for getting students' attention. And here is where it's asking you to include this in your digital substitute kit. Page 22 of the classroom management module. Number 6, what's your plan for dealing with a noisy classroom? So we'll keep going through. Okay, we get to noisy classrooms. Kind of read about this. Now we've got a blog here for ways to deal with a noisy classroom. Here's some additional information on dealing with noisy classrooms. As it says here, sometimes noise isn't a bad thing. So the noisy classrooms is, if you're having trouble dealing with a noisy classroom, here are some strategies that you can jot down in your digital substitute kit for helping you deal with it. It's one of those things that you say to yourself, you get in a position, your digital substitute kit can kind of help you get out of that position. So it's kind of like a quick guide for yourself. Number 7, what are transitions that are difficult? List 2 of them and then list 2 strategies to make them smoother. So over here in the table of contents, we're going to look for up here transitions. So again, we've got some things to read, and now we have resources for how we can make difficult transitions smoother. Keep in mind here, we're talking about transitions. These are the types of transitions we're talking about within that question. So the course, page 24, will help you with the transitions question. Number 8, dealing with a defiant student. So we're going to see, here's a video on how to deal with a defiant student. Here's also some additional resources for how you can deal with a defiant student. And then we're looking for at least one strategy you can use specifically for defiant students. Page 35 of the Classroom Management module. Number 9, if your teacher doesn't have classroom rules, what will you use and teach your students? So we're going to go ahead to, this is, here's some information, page 37 of this module. Here's some additional resources. And now this is where we put it in the digital substitute kit. So you click on this document, you make another copy. You're going to complete this, and then you're going to grab the link for this, and you're going to put it for number 9. You could also, if you wanted to, you could also copy, fill all this out, copy, paste, and then paste it in. If you put the link, like I did here, then you're going to want to make sure this link is viewable, either with me or with everyone. So I would just change it, anyone with the link. You could also put my email in here if you'd rather. But if you make it anyone with the link, now when I go to look at your number 9, I can click on that link and it'll open for me. For number 10, CHAMPS stand for link to the CHAMPS worksheet. So here, this talks more about expectations and such. And now we get into resources for CHAMPS Planner. It's asking for what's it stand for? Here's a resource you can look at. Here's a printout you can look at. Now we have our digital substitute kit icon. It's asking you to complete this CHAMPS Planner. So we click on it. We make a copy. Once that copy is made, now I have to complete this. What activity or transition would I like to do this for? Something along the lines of a think, pair, share would be an example of an activity, or transitioning to lunch, or transitioning back from recess, or another activity, center stations. So you choose the activity or transition, and then you answer each of these prompts from the lens of whatever activity you choose up top here. Remember, it's a course for substitute teachers, so you probably don't want to do something like writing a 10-page book report. Although a substitute teacher could be a little bit longer, not all subbing positions would have that purview. You probably have something a little bit more discreet. So you fill out each part of this. Again, go grab the link. I would make sure it's available to everyone, or put my name in here. Copy the link. Now on your digital substitute kit, you just paste that link in. I didn't actually copy it, so that's the same one. We'll fix that quick. Because 9 and 10 are two different questions. So you can see now I've got a link for number 9 and a link for number 10. Number 11, how can you help students visually organize their knowledge, make connections to the content, and help students retain information? List a few strategies. This is in a different module. So now we're going to go back to the strategies for learning module. And again, as you're completing these, you're going to complete them in the order of the digital substitute kit. You can see here, these will help with their thinking, help them stay organized, help make connections. So we've got examples here, got templates you can use, videos explaining. Here's another group of examples. Here's another one. Here's some more graphic organizer templates. And this is where it says, here's an article that has some information, and then give us some strategies to help with those things. For number 12, why is group work important in the classroom? 2 ways to group students and how you do these activities. So for number 12, we're going to jump ahead here to group work. So now we're on page 24. This is going to tell us why group work is important. And now here, it's going to show us some examples. These are called grouping activities. So here's an example of a grouping activity. Here's a document that goes over the roles from this. Here's another video on a grouping activity. Here's some more grouping activity information. Now here's an article about cooperative learning grouping activities and the strategies. So you tell us why it's important. Then you give us 2 ways to group students and how to do the activities. Don't forget to include the activities. So if we come back here, jigsaw learning, that's an activity. That's a grouping activity that you can use with your classroom. There's other ones in here as well. Feel free to include any of them you'd like. You just need to make sure that you have 2 grouping activities. Number 13, these go over technology tools. So let's go back. We're still under the same heading of strategies for learning. So for number 13, we're going to go to technology. We're on page 38. Here's an article you can read. Kind of think about some technology-related prompts. Some more articles you can read. These will go over tools, they'll go over resources. There are actually channels that are in here. Some information about using technology. Here's some more resources, and now it's asking for what technology tools do you know? These can be ed tech or just regular technology tools you know. Which technology tools do you want to research more? Keep in mind, we're looking for tool names. So these first 2 would be actually names of tools. And then the last one, what are 3 resources where you can stay up to date on ed tech? So these should be websites, social media handles. They shouldn't be tools themselves. They should be places where you can get updates, that talks about using tech in a classroom and such. Number 14, activities. So for number 14, these talk about, here's some examples for things you can do. I encourage you to kind of go deeper than like show a movie or do a study hall. Yeah, of course we can do those things, but let's get into like some interesting, some fun substitute teacher things you can do if you don't have plans. Almost all the time you're going to have plans, but here's some other information that you can use to help come up with activities that you can use as activities. It's good just to, kind of have like a quiver. You just have some example activities that if you don't have something to do, you can use as a default. And your substitute kit is where you can find a list of the activities that you said to yourself at one point, I could do that quick. Now, if you're in a classroom, you can just come back to this and you can say, that's a quick one I can do. No big deal. Number 15, we're looking for the 5 closest districts. You'll notice we're in a new module now, the opportunities module. So if I go back home, I'm going to go down to the SubAuthAssistanceComplete module. These modules are essentially information for you to be aware of and to know about. They're trainings for educators. Now we get to the SubAuthAssistanceComplete module. Here's a quick example of a job posting. Here we have, you can watch me apply for a job. Just some additional information. This is a map that will help you explore the 5 districts that you'd like to put in your list. So if you, if I were to go to Heartland, I go to my Heartland link. It's going to show me a map. All right, this is going to show me districts. So if I want to put Carlisle on there, this links me to the Carlisle homepage. So I copy this. In my digital substitute kit, I can write Carlisle, and then I can paste the link to that district right there. So you want to do this for 5 districts. You don't want to do this for AEAs, like each of these are not a district. These are collections of districts. The purpose of this question is so that you know you can substitute teach in more than one district at the same time. And to have your list of the 5 you're going to use, that you'd most likely use, it doesn't mean that you're going to sub in all 5 of those. It just gives you the list of those 5. And the last question, number 16, notice we're in the conclusion module. What are the 8 tips for a substitute teacher? Here, if we come out to the conclusion module, we're going to resume this. On page 2, there's a 15-minute video, and it asks you to identify the 8 tips that she goes through in her video. Feel free to watch it more than once. It's not like every tip is 1, this, 2, this, but it's pretty, as it goes through it, it identifies the tips. The one thing I would say on this, one of the middle tips is have an emergency folder. She goes through quite a few tools that would be examples to put in your emergency folder. Those don't necessarily mean those are tips themselves. So I'd watch the full video, jot some tips down. If you want more tips than 8, you can put in, if you think she gives 10 or 15, you can put in each of them. I'm just looking for the 8 that when I went through it with multiple people, these were the 8 that were pulled out as tips from that video. And now down here, anything you'd like to put here, feel free to add. You can put notes to yourself. You can put graphics that you'd like to include. I see a lot of people put like the 7 ways to praise students. Those are all things you can put in here. But keep in mind, don't put things in here that like answer question 12. Because if I don't see what's in here, if there's a bunch in here, I'm not going to go through each piece of your optional content. This is really kind of like a notes page where you can choose anything else that you think would be beneficial to have in your digital substitute kit. I hope you found this video helpful, and good luck going through the course. Thank you.